Shalom, Havarim. Wow, I love you guys. You guys are cracking me up today. All of you are saying, oh my gosh, I missed the homework, or I almost missed the homework because I was in the Word. Louise was in Genesis, and John Ryan was in, I think, Ezekiel. I'm not sure, it went by kind of fast, but praise Abba, when you get to the homework, if you skipped it for being in the Word, you're going to say, oh my gosh, I really did do the homework. The homework was all about the whole Word of Yahweh and really how it impacts our walk. So shalom, everyone. Wow, so happy to be here with you. I look forward to it all day. That's not to say I don't have that flesh, like, oh my gosh, the camera. But in the Ruach, I am just so happy to prepare and talk with him throughout my day about what he wants me to talk with you about. And speaking of that, I continue to be blessed beyond measure, Baruch, by your comments that indicate that the Father is using these messages in your walks. Dana Day posted a message yesterday that said, I watched the Rapture Ready live stream and the Father melted all my fear away. And that's just, it's encouraging to me to get behind the camera again and again as he calls me to do this, and through his anointing to do it, and to know that the Father is doing a mighty work in each one of you, whether you're here live or you're here afterwards, wherever the Father has you, and how he's using this fellowship in your walk. It's overwhelming what he's doing, and it's just comment after comment after comment. The Father's using this here, the Father's using this in my life here. I never knew this, I never saw this. And the shalom and chedwa, that's the message that's being put out by all of you, that your shalom is increasing, your chedwa, your joy in him is increasing. And I can speak for myself that when I was just going to church and kind of basically going through the motions and didn't even realize it, I didn't understand why I didn't have the shalom he promised. Mashiach said that he would give us shalom, not as the world gives, but shalom that surpasses all of our comprehension. And I just didn't have it. I thought, why can't I hear from Yahweh or the Lord, whatever I called him? I couldn't understand what he wanted for me. John Ryan has been with us quite some time. Love you, John. Hey, buddy. I know you're with us in the chat. And he is really diligently seeking and just really immersing himself in the Word, really for the relatively short time. And he asked, how do I know what to do, what the Father wants me to do about a particular situation in my life? As you can't look that up in the concordance. Where does it say, Dear John, this is exactly what I want you to do, and when and how? And what did I do? I directed him to Romans. Romeim. And I said, of course he wouldn't think this, but I said, for whoever's watching, the answer isn't actually in there. You're not going to say, oh my gosh, it's in chapter 3. Exactly what I'm supposed to do about this situation. But I was blown away today by the homework and Alan's study of what Torah and the word for commandments really means. Why I would direct someone to Romans, go through the whole thing verse by verse, and ask for the Father's revelation about what your specific issue is that Romans connects the Torah and basically the whole first covenant to our walks as believers in Mashiach in the renewed covenant. And that's why I directed him to Romans. I didn't. The Ruach just said, tell him to go to Romeim. So I said, Romeim. And it's true. That's how we receive more oil, is the whole word. Even Alan was saying, I came to this understanding about the tent peg in my studies of the whole word. And that's what we're learning now, right? I had that revelation a couple weeks ago where I thought, oh my gosh, all these live streams are going to be super boring because the message is all the same. Pitching your tent with Abba Father Yahweh, standing on the rock of Yeshua, having the mind of Mashiach, renewing your mind in Him, He does it all in you, is the message of all these words. The whole odiote, every combination of odiote that makes the word, that makes the whole word, is the same message. So this particular study, it really opens it up. It's like, I know that all of you collectively who have been being washed by and growing in the Word regularly by His compelling you to do that, are receiving more words from Him. I mean, not that long ago, Alan brought up the amazing experience that John Ryan did have with Mashiach. And I don't remember which live stream it was, but it's pinned. The comment is pinned, his experience. And he wasn't having those experiences before. He was asking maybe a month before that, how do you know what his voice sounds like? I don't. And then, he's being washed and growing, and bang, he has this experience. We're all experiencing him more. And why? Because we're not skipping anything. Alan's done verse by verse, Genesis, Exodus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges. And he skipped Leviticus. The Father knows why, and I could guess why, but neither of us knew. Alan and I talked about it. He's like, I don't know why I skipped Leviticus. But he did. But anyway, you guys can go back and read Leviticus with the Ruach and receive whatever revelation filling that in now would bring you that the Father wants you to have, or however you're led. But the revelations that came from verse by verse through the first covenant that we had all essentially skipped. I don't want to speak for everyone. I shouldn't say all, but so many of us had a cursory knowledge of what I'll just call children's Bible stories from the Old Testament. And then we didn't connect the fact that we couldn't hear from Him. We didn't know His voice. We didn't know how He was leading us in our lives because we were New Testament believers. And even in the New Testament, we skipped half of it. How many of us had ever read Revelation or had the drive to understand that? I didn't. I read the first, few chapters and thought, I don't understand this, and I'm just going to stick to the letters that I understand and the parts of those that I understand. But the whole word, the more we add, it's like a puzzle. Remember that game show where they had to guess what the picture was? They had little, things came out one at a time. I can't remember the whole thing, but the more that got revealed of the picture, the more obvious the picture was. A lot of times we'll just skip to the end. We'll get a few pieces. Yeshua died for our sin and rose from the dead. Okay, we got those 2 pieces. But without any other pieces, the picture gets kind of filled in. Our fleshly minds fill in the rest. And I think that might be why the last church, the lukewarm church, is, Mashiach said, look, I'm about to vomit you out of my mouth. Where are you? I wish you were hot or cold. They have pieces of the renewed covenant, and they're filling in the rest. And I would assume that that is a way of adding and taking away from the word when you're not digging into the whole thing and having him uncover pieces, uncover that piece, uncover this piece, uncover this piece. So when you look down at the picture, it's so obvious what he's doing. Things that were a mystery aren't a mystery anymore, and he progressively reveals. We'll never have the whole picture. When it says we see through a glass dimly, it's another way of saying all the puzzle pieces won't be turned over or uncovered until we go home. But if we're compelled by the Father to go through his word with his ruach, his presence in our lives, that is the oil that gives us eyes to see, ears that hear, hearts that understand. You know, digging in and asking the Father, I don't understand this passage. Make it clear to me so that I can have that piece of the picture uncovered, so I can see more of it. I can understand more of you. And that is faith. Being washed by and growing in the Word is being able to see more of the Father's plan, to have more of his presence. When you only have a couple pieces, people say, oh, well, I just believe by faith. And then they go about their worldly lives. And like Alan said, they don't know enough of the word to know that that's what they're doing. They just go off and take their little pieces and call that faith. If they only knew that faith was being washed by and growing in the word. Mashiach even said, you don't even have to know the word Aman. He said, give us this day our daily bread. And then he said, man doesn't live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of Yahweh. Every word. This New Testament believer idea flies right in the face of something Mashiach said in the renewed covenant, the New Testament. Oops. So, back to John and those who are seeking Abba Father's will for their lives. That is it. Stay where you are. And today you even said, I almost forgot to do the homework because I was reading the word. Woo! His compelling you to do that is necessarily meaning that you are getting more oil, you're hearing his voice more clearly, and you will understand his will for your life more tomorrow than you will today. And that's being perfected. That's what it means to live by faith. That's what it is. So everyone who has missed the homework, the actual study that Alan did on commandments and Torah, it's a big one. And I really hope and pray that you will go back and do that. It was a beracha, a blessing to me to listen to that again, as always. So let's see, let me make sure I got my notes going on here. Romans, oil. Oh yeah, we're talking about the Nechatef, the parable of the wise and the unwise virgins, or maidens, whoever they were, us. The ones with enough oil are the ones that know him. And who is he but the living word? From Genesis to Revelation. That's him. Those without enough oil aren't in the word. They just aren't. So, I think that was it. Okay. Do we have any questions or concerns? Here we go. I'm looking at the chat now. Pitching tent with Yahweh. Hey, Melissa. Awesome. You just missed the whole teaching. Good thing it's recorded. Praise Abba. Robert says, all week I've been thinking about how I have enough bread for every day, just enough. I don't need to store any, just trust him and Yireh Yahweh to worship and focus on Yahweh in spite of all the giants out there that come at us all the time. Amen, Robert. Amen. Just enough. It's perfectly fresh every day. No day-old bread. Christine says, I'm beginning to see the audio when I read the scriptures. It's bringing it to life. Amen, Christine. That's what happens. That's what living and walking by faith, by Aman, means. Praise Abba. Woo! Let's see. Anyone have questions about the study or anything else that's been on your heart lately? Melissa, Shalom Caregiver, I love you. Romim, awesome book. Amen. I love you guys too. Woo! I'm so happy today. Yes, Vanessa and I love you all. We hold you all in prayer every day. My Echad squad sister, love you. Thanks for all you're doing, sister. In Elohim, I know you do it by his power, by his wisdom and his might. Hallelujah. Let's see, I'm looking for questions. Hurry. I'm going to have to close in prayer. I don't have it. I had a short list of bullets today. Gracie's snoring. Can you hear her? Cammie says, I watched Alan study his Book of Remembrance again last night. Don't miss that one. Amen, Cammie. Boy, we, in these last moments, whew, those who esteem his name are written in the Book of Remembrance. Amen. Lauren has a question. I always wanted to know, am I hearing his voice or is it mine? That's a great question. Well, you know, the more, this study kind of answers that. The more you're in his word, the more you recognize his voice. And the more your thoughts align with his. So really you want to ask yourself, is the thought I'm hearing, does it align with his word? And if it aligns with his word, it's him. It's him working in you and making his thoughts your thoughts. Woo! And if it doesn't, like if you have the idea, for instance, oh, Abba Father made me feel really guilty about that. Well, there's conviction and there's discipline, but then there's this ruminating guilt, sick feeling. If it's that ruminating guilt, sick feeling, that's what the accuser does. And he says, hey, I'm Yahweh. And you say, no, you're not. You're acting like the accuser. I know you. Get out of here. So the more you're washed by the word, the more you recognize who's who in your head. And Alan actually covered that really great in demonic strongholds. So check that one out for more on the voices in your head. Good question. Let's see, Joanne has a question. Alan said that Moshe probably is this insignificance? Spoke in Paleo Hebrew. So did Yahweh give him the word in Paleo? Well, it's possible. Yeah. But you know, everything got distorted at the fall, really. I mean, I don't know when they started writing it down, but they had the audio, the original ancient, and then they fell. The little bit of leaven, when she decided, good idea, it spoiled the whole lump. And, we know from Exodus and Numbers that Moshe, he had his share of darkness, like all of us. So Paleo, yeah, it was probably written in Paleo according to Alan's research, but what can you do? Now it's written in English. That's even worse. But the word of Yahweh dwelling in us is really Yeshua HaMashiach himself. So don't get caught up in, oh my gosh, Moshe had it all messed up. He really didn't. He had the Ruach HaKodesh. And that is who Mashiach is. That is really what washes you. He is who washes you, I should say. When you're being washed by and growing in the Word, it's not the literal words that you're being washed by and growing in, whether it's Paleo Hebrew or modern Hebrew or English or anything else. It's the Ruach HaKodesh dwelling in you, renewing your mind, regardless of that. He's not held back by that. We are. That, we can get confused. But if we're in him, if we're abiding in Yeshua HaMashiach, then he reveals himself to us. That's how people who went before us, who weren't here for such a time as this, right up against the Nechatev, they're going to be raised, even though they called him Jesus and God and Lord and all those pagan things. They didn't know. If they had a heart for him and they were being washed by the Word, by the Ruach HaKodesh, supernaturally, not the words on the page, but the living Word, then they'll be raised. So that was kind of a long answer to that question, but I hope it helped. Did I skip questions? Let's see. Hearing his voice. No, I got that one. Okay. Shorty has a question. Hey. He calls me Lady of Iron. I love that. I pray, then open the Word, Romans. Is it okay to chew on one chapter for a while until I hear from Abba, because I don't hear at times? That is exactly what daily bread means, to not gorge yourself constantly. If we all just sat and read and read and read and read and read, first of all, we'd be in the flesh, because he didn't call us to do that. The model of manna is you go, you collect what you need, and you chew on it. You eat it. Think of it like actual food. You go to a buffet, it's all you can eat, not you eat all at once. So seek the Father, and he will confirm that in your heart. You really can't do it wrong if you're asking him for guidance first and conviction, and say, help me learn how to be in your Word so that I can be washed supernaturally by it and not be in the flesh trying to chow as much of it as possible to, say, go in the Nechatev, the rapture, or to be saved, or, because then you're getting into works. Good question. Very good question. Let's see. What have we got? More questions? Okay. Gluttonous smoky girl. Good word. Amen, Shorty. Praise Abba. Amen. He is working here. Amen to that. John Ryan. Oh, okay, I get it. I have had a months-long lesson about food. I'm still reading too much. Now I know why I've been having trouble. Amen. Yeah, let him direct you as you're compelled. That's the thing. If you're forcing yourself and you were compelled in the morning, you read for 15 minutes or so before work, and then you had to leave. Then you get home from work and you think, well, was 15 minutes enough? I don't know. I guess I better keep reading. I don't know if 15 minutes was enough today. Then that conversation is of your flesh. See what I'm saying? If you get home from work, on the other hand, and you, without even thinking about it, make a beeline back to where you were when you had to leave, that's the ruach. Sometimes he'll do that, sometimes he won't. He doesn't have a formula. So just go with how you're compelled and trust him to compel you to be where you're supposed to be. Respond. That's the idea behind being compelled. You don't have to stress about it. You just do it almost by accident. Or not, So this is all, this message of shalom is all about relaxing and falling backwards. It's knowing he'll catch you, trying to stop yourself from falling, you're grabbing on. Let go. Let go. Let him do it. John says, I often have a really hard time putting it down, but some of that is from guilt. Yes, if you have a hard time putting it down because you're so into it and the Ruach is revealing things and you're just like, oh my gosh, it's been 3 hours, look at that. That's the Ruach. But if you say, gosh, I feel like I've had enough, but gosh, I've only been in the Word for 10 minutes and 37, 38, 39 seconds. I don't think that's enough. So you learn to recognize when time is, that saying, time flies when you're having fun. And how Alan always said, if it ain't fun, I ain't doing it. Well, that was another way of saying, if the Father isn't compelling me to do it just automatically and time just flies, then I'm in the flesh and I'm not going to do that. That's not what he's calling me to do. So you'll learn now that we've had this chat. I think it's going to become a lot easier to recognize, oh, flesh alert. Put it down. Walk away. Talk to Abba about it. Say, put that alarm bell right there and say, done. I want you to chew on this for a while. I got some things to talk to you about this passage. And he'll do that. Amen, Ryan. John. I almost called you Ryan. I'm dyslexic, so I see, Ryan, John, Ryan. Oh, praise Abba. Just loving his word. Amen. Not on a bet. Amen. Dave, Debbie, Kaylee, go to Abba. He'll guide you. Amen. Let's see. Joanne says, I know caregiver is led by the Ruach, but I still cannot discard the fact that he is able to lead her. Amen. Joanne, love you. He is. He's doing this. I ask him, I'm like, tell me what you want for your lambs that come to this table. And I will willingly just say whatever you want me to say. Whew, what a privilege. Okay, any more questions? We've had some great ones. Well, they're all great because, you're compelled to ask. Get it? I had the same question, Paul said. Thank you for this answer. I had the same question. Paul, that is an excellent comment. I want everyone to focus on Paul's comment. Ask questions. Do not be afraid. That's Hashatan saying, you'll look dumb and you'll be the only one and they'll laugh. No, we all are on the walk together. We're all growing in the same experience. We don't have the same living experience, our same soul or nefesh, but we have the same experience of having our minds renewed by the word, and therefore we're going to have the same pitfalls. We have the same enemies. Okay, the principalities and powers of darkness are the enemies of all of us, and they all say the same stupid lies, so we're all dealing with the same. That made me think of Alan when he first started texting, and that brown emoji with the smile. He thought it was chocolate ice cream. But we're all dealing with the same chocolate soft serve. Okay. Hey, Randall, welcome back. I didn't know you were gone. Full armor on. Amen, Robert. Yeah, we're all dealing with the same chocolate soft serve with a smile. Truly, we were texting back and forth about something, and I used that emoji in context of the conversation. And I got this long pause in the text discussion, and finally he texted chocolate ice cream. Because clearly that would make no sense. I got a cramp. Alright, it's fun to laugh with you guys. I see your laughs. Thank you. Bye, Christine. Shalom. Amen, Cammie. Alan was still getting it. Amen. We're all getting it. And I'm loving getting it with you guys. Keep your comments coming. If you have questions or prayer requests, just post those after the video if I don't see them, or people, you don't have a chance to put them in the chat. I made Stephanie Crow pull over to laugh. Hallelujah. Oh gosh, this is fun. Oh, Joanne has a prayer request. Everybody write it down. Oh, hallelujah. We love each other here. Amen. Oh, all right. I don't see any more questions. And if you guys can stop laughing for a second, we'll bow our hearts and praise Abba for our awesome time together. Okay. We love you, Abba. We thank you that we can laugh and have fun together as your family around the table. We thank you for your word, the living word, Yeshua HaMashiach, and that he's a friend that sticks closer to a brother, the friend that laid his life down for us. Father, we thank you that by his death, by his misery and separation from you, that we never have to experience that he took it in our place. We thank you for the fellowship of those who share in that joy. And we thank you that you are causing us to get it progressively. We're getting it in you. Thank you for every puzzle piece you turn over that makes the whole picture even more beautiful and more obvious. Father, thank you that we are walking by Aman, faith, that we are walking by being washed by and growing in your word, your beautiful Son, who died and rose from the dead to give us this experience that will be magnified to levels beyond our imagination when he picks us up and he puts us over the finish line. We love you and we praise you. And we come to you in Yahweh, through Yeshua. And all the Kodashim said, Amen. Fist bump. I love you guys. And I gotta stop streaming now. Shalom.